Cool. So today we're going to talk about borrowing ebooks with the Libby app. One thing I like about Libby is that for people who have portable devices like smartphones and tablets, you would put the Libby app on your smartphone or tablet. But they also have for people who use like a desktop or laptop computer, there's a web browser-based version of that software, which is what I'm using because I'm joining this Zoom on a laptop at the library. So what I'm doing is I'm visiting libbyapp.com in a web browser. Now, for anyone who has a smartphone or a tablet or intends on using those as their primary device for borrowing ebooks through Libby, they're going to want to go ahead and add the Libby app to their tablet or smartphone.
So do you know the App Store?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But I'm not very good.
I'm gonna walk Nina through that, or
Okay.
you could walk us through it if you want.
What type of device? Because you're on the right track. You just want to
iPhone.
you want to open up the device's app store and then search for Libby, Libby.
My App Store. I don't think it's
All
there.
right, let's see. That's okay.
So
That's why we're here.
you said in web browser, you say Libby app at .com.
So
And
what
that's
what device are you using to borrow books with?
I haven't used a device to borrow books yet.
But what device do you plan on using to borrow books with?
Well, I thought I would use my iPhone.
Right. So I would suggest visiting the App Store on your iPhone. The App Store is like a blue
It's
icon with a
oddly,
letter.
I know she doesn't have an App Store on her iPhone. Is this an iPhone?
Yeah, it's an iPhone. It must have just.
Oh, here it is.
Oh, okay.
Got it.
So we need to move it out there.
So then you go search.
Okay.
No, you do it. So you get that body.
So I do get or
Search
Where's-
down here,
Oh.
the magnifying glass, and
okay.
type in Libby. Yep.
Okay.
Press that.
Libby.
Yep.
Okay.
And then search. Yeah. There we go. And it's Libby by Overdrive, correct?
Yep. Yes, that's the one.
And get.
And it's like a primarily purple color scheme, a little bit of
Yeah.
teal mixed in.
Yes. So now I double click to install.
That's what it says.
Yep.
Let's see. Let's do this. Get. Yeah. Face not recognized. Install. Do you remember your password?
Yes.
You're all right.
I
Good.
believe I do, but we'll see.
We'll see.
Oh dear. I didn't bring my Apple ID password. I know my password well.
Right. The one that you use for
Maybe I could
a
call
lot of
David
things.
and
Yeah,
can I use your phone to call him?
absolutely.
Since I don't want to mess up the screen.
Yeah.
Oh dear. I also don't know his number. I have
Oh,
it.
we can look it up. And
Maybe I should call him with my phone. But anyway,
look, I can look it up.
I don't know if his.
Did we have his cell phone?
Yeah, I don't think the cell phone is on there. Okay, here we go.
Yeah, here it is.
Hi, I should have brought my Apple ID password, and it's in that little book that I keep in the closet. Do you know where I keep it hidden? Okay, I'm talking about our closet and my side of our closet, and there's a little book in, okay, I keep it in a pocket in a black coat, the last one, or the first one. On the, right, on the far side of that black coat. It's actually a black jacket. Okay, I won't.
How do you get to Libby on a desktop, says Eva. Can you repeat that for us, Tom?
Yeah, I'm gonna throw the link in the chat here.
Oh, excellent.
Oh, sure. Have you found it?
Also, while I have the chat open on my end, I'm gonna throw a couple other links. Libby has a really good
Okay, I
book
should have
website,
it
so I'm gonna put that in the
closed.
chat real quick.
Yeah,
Sure.
Okay, so that's
wait,
help.libbyapp.com. That's very helpful.
CRA.
Also, the library
Yeah.
offers one-on-one help by appointment in person at the library. So I'm gonna copy and paste a link to that schedule in the chat as well. Because we'll cover a lot of the basics today, but sometimes it doesn't hurt to do like a follow-up with someone in person if you're able to visit us in person at the library.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so I think I know I have this stuff. Oh, gosh. I'm so good at all this stuff. Okay,
There you
so.
go.
uh,
Get.
Yeah. That didn't click the way it did when you, when
And
you
it
did.
wants your facial recognition too.
Um,
There we go.
okay. So what's it doing now?
It is
Oh, it says-
open today, yeah.
Okay,
Uh-huh.
open, okay.
Well, all right. Say,
No, not
Can I-
yet. I don't have a library card.
you don't have a library card?
I do not, but I'm going to get one. I mean, I have a library card at all, but not
That's so funny.
a TCPL.
Oop, Philly. Somehow it thinks you're in Philly.
Oh, gosh, why does it think I'm in Philly?
Do you have a library card? Not yet. Find libraries.
It should be Ithaca.
Do my geography better, right? There we go.
Oh, here's Ithaca.
Yes, this is my library. Say that.
Okay,
There you go. Sign of the card. I would like a card.
yes.
Visit. Get directions.
I don't need directions to the library.
Does Anina need a library card to run Libby right now?
If she doesn't have one, she can just kind of follow along. 'Cause,
You
yeah,
could
without
use
a library
mine.
card, there's not much else you can do.
Yeah, okay, she can use my Libby.
So I have to get a library card first.
Yeah.
Oh, gosh. See that?
Yeah, get a card. Maybe you can do it. I'll work on this and Tom, go ahead. You can
Okay.
follow.
Okay, so anyone with the Libby app should see, like, if they first added the app to their phone, this is their welcome screen. And like Eva's location is using the browser version, libbyapp.com. Also, I did,
Yep.
while Nina was on the phone, I did throw a couple of links in the chat. The help.libbyapp.com, that's a good resource. If you ever get stuck using Libby, you can visit that website for help questions. And then the other link is for the library's one-on-one technology help by appointment. So that's the upcoming schedule for those sessions.
Great.
So the first time you add Libby to your phone, or the first time you visit it in a web browser, this is the welcome screen. So it says, do you have a library card? So I'm going to go ahead and answer yes. And then I'm going to use the middle option in the middle of the screen here. It says you can look up the nearest library by name, city, or zip code. I'm going to click on search for a library. And I like to use zip code because we're going to use the Ithaca zip code. It's just less typing. And if you notice, I typed the Ithaca zip code and it brings up the Finger Lakes library system. So that's the library system that Tompkins County Public Library is a part of. So they subscribe to Libby on behalf of all 33 member libraries. So we're going to use that library system. So I just click on Finger Lakes library system. And then let me move the little zoom window out of the way here. On the right, it says sign in with my card, which I'm going to go ahead and do that now. So click sign in with card, then click on Finger Lakes library system patrons. And I'm going to add my card number.
I'm already signed in, so you don't,
Oh,
you wanna,
oh, okay.
I'm gonna try to
Okay.
get
So
you.
enter
a
the
card.
card number, then I click on the word next. And I'm going to enter the password. For most patrons at the library, if you created the library card account in person, most cases your password or PIN number, it means the same thing, whether it's asking for a password or a PIN number. It's going to be the last four of your phone number.
Yeah. Last four numbers,
So I went ahead and I signed in.
Hell,
So
my home phone.
whichever one
I'm
you
going to
put in.
pause here for a second. If you notice my card, it has my name. The reason why I renamed my card is because we have a few people in my family who share a device. If you're using your device and you're the only person using your device, you don't have to rename the card if you don't want to. What it'll have instead of your name will actually just be the library card number starting with the letter D. So, but I did rename my card. And if you ever want to, there's a little button right here, rename card. Also, I want to point out, so Finger Lakes library system patrons, they're allowed up to 5 checkouts in a month, or 5 checkouts at a time. And they're also allowed up to 5 hold requests at a time. And I'm going to go ahead and click the next button. So now we're at the home screen for the Finger Lakes library system. And what I usually tell people is my experience both with ebooks, the digital books, or even with books in print, like physical paper bound or type books. People have like 2 basic habits for borrowing books. Some people know exactly what they want, so they'll search by either the title or the author, while other people like to browse. So if you're a person who likes to browse, there's a couple of different ways you can browse. You can just simply scroll this homepage here. If you just kind of scroll using your mouse, or on a tablet or smartphone, you just kind of swipe with your finger, you can just scroll the homepage and see what's available. So like for instance, there's a category, middle school must read. If I keep scrolling here, see if another category pops up. Here's another category, everyone reads, Spanish titles for young readers. So that's one way to borrow by browsing, is just simply scrolling this home page. I'm going to scroll back to the top now. There are also at the top of the page different categories. So if you want to see what's newest, you can click on the link for newest items, or you can click on the link for what's popular, or you can click on the link for what's available now. So those are all ways that people can, I'm gonna close my Teams real quick. That way it doesn't interrupt anything. These are ways people can borrow by browsing. Available now, random, scrolling, sorry, not scrolling. Newest popular random available now. Just gonna, let me click on the little, see the balloon here? I'm gonna click on this filter real quick. So if you click on the filter, you can do by subject as well. Fantasy, romance, mystery. Keep scrolling just a little bit. We have 130 subjects in total. Explore all genres. So let me back up a step here. If I click on the far left of the screen, if I click on that little balloon with the filter icon, and then click in where it's, again, it's blue, it says explore all genres. If I click on that,
Yeah.
this will show you the different genres that we have available. So like and it's sorting by size. What they mean by size is the number of books in that genre. So for instance, we have 12,486 fiction titles. If you want to know, like, let's say you're a historical fiction fan, you can switch. Instead of sorting this by size, you can click sorting it by name.
Filter again. So if you go.
If you sort it by name, it'll alphabetize the different genres. That'll make it easier to find historical fiction because you just go right to the ages. Let me see where historical fiction, here we go. So if we sort this list by the name of the genre, we have historical fiction. There's 3,075 titles in historical fiction. So if that's your go-to genre, you can click on historical fiction. Give that a click. And this is going to show us everything in historical fiction.
Yeah.
And there's over 3,000
Where
titles.
is the can you go back to show us where genre is?
Yep, let me back it up. I'm gonna back up a few steps. Whoops, I think I'm back too far. Give me 1 second here. Oh, right, I'm sorry, I hit the wrong. If you ever want to go back to that home screen, if you look at the top left corner where it says library with the arrow pointing left,
Yeah,
we're gonna click on that.
yeah.
Okay, so again, starting from the home screen, on the far left of the screen, there's a little balloon,
Balloon,
like a blue. And then these are, this icon next to the balloon, that's the filter icon. So I clicked
Yeah.
on that. And I scroll just a little bit to where the blue text says we have 130 subjects in total. Explore all genres. So
Okay.
that's what I clicked on to get to that. And again, you can either sort the subject by the size, meaning how many books we have in that genre. But I like to switch it to sorting it by name, because that way the genre is in alphabetical order. So if I click by name and then I scroll, I can find historical fiction very quickly. It's right there.
And then you can.
Or for instance, like mystery. So if I click, if I'm a big mystery buff, I can find mystery in the M's. So like looking at mystery, there's 3,300 total mystery titles, whereas historical fiction, there's 3,075. So you can click on either one of those genres, it'll take you specifically to those genres. I see a question in the chat real quick. Let me take a peek at that real quick.
Eva just said she's logged into Libby.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
Cool. All right, let me minimize that. Yeah, so I just wanted to show like there's different ways to browse. If you're a browser, you can scroll that homepage, you can click on the different categories, or you can follow those steps to find these different subjects or genres. Real quick, while we're talking about browsing, does anybody have a question about browsing? And remember, if you want to get back to that homepage, just look top left corner of Libby where it says library and give that left arrow a click a couple times to get back to the homepage.
Yeah. And browse, pull it all the way down. Library.
Okay, library.
Or this
What does
building
that?
that's home.
Ah,
That's the
okay,
first page.
okay.
Also, in the chat, Eva wrote that it does look pretty overwhelming. And that's where I just want to reiterate that we're going to give you some basics today. The best way to get a handle on Libby is just by using it. You really can't break it. So if you just, that's why I always like to point out, if you feel like, gosh, where am I? I'm kind of stuck. I'm stuck in the middle of Libby. I'm not sure what I'm doing. I always try to point out, look in that top left-hand corner of the Libby screen to get you back to this home page. So right now I'm back on the home page. So what I find helps me to deal with like that overwhelming feeling is I kind of do my homework ahead of time. I'll look for books that I want to borrow, and then I just use the search feature in Libby. And that is actually at the bottom of the screen where the magnifying glass is. So Libby allows you to search by title and by author. So if you notice the little library building next to magnifying glass, that's got the color scheme, the blue and the green color scheme. That indicates that that's the area of Libby that we're actually looking at right now, is that little home library icon right there. If I click on the magnifying glass, now the magnifying glass is outlined in green. So that's the part of Libby that we're focusing on right now, is that magnifying glass. So if you look at the home building, the library building, that's black and white. But we're not looking at that part of Libby right now. We're looking at the magnifying glass. So with the magnifying glass, I find it easy personally to help deal with that feeling of like, wow, this is a lot all at once. I do my homework first, and then I'll search for titles to see if they're available in Libby. Because that's another thing we like to point out with Libby. If just because a book is on the shelf at the library, it doesn't automatically mean that we have that same book available as Libby. Librarians on staff here, we search for books and we order them just like we would order print materials. So we have a lot of books on Libby. We don't have everything in Libby. So for example, one book, I'm just gonna search for like Harry Potter. I guess we probably all heard about Harry Potter at this point. He's a popular children's character. I'm gonna go ahead and search for Harry Potter.
So he's in search.
Right.
So at this point, I've searched for Harry Potter, and
Just press that.
I just like to point out after searching for a title, a couple of different things. Again, if you take your eye to the top left area of the screen, where if you can see my cursor, I'm trying to point out that we have books and we have audiobooks. Book means that those are items that you would read visually with text. Audiobooks are the books that you would listen to. So if you're a patron who knows I'm not planning on actually reading text-based books, if you want to filter out those results, you can click where it says audiobooks right here. So if I click on audiobooks right now, it will filter out any books that are text-based. So I'm going to do that real quick.
Okay.
So right now, if I search Harry Potter and click on audiobooks, that's all we're going to get on the screen are basically Harry Potter books to listen to. Now, if you change your mind and you want to see the books that you can read with text, if you notice there's a little X next to audiobooks, we'll go ahead and click on the X. And then it says remove filter at the bottom of this little pop-up window. So I'll click on remove filter. Now it's showing us both the audiobooks and the books to read in text. So that's just one way to filter your results. Okay. So at this point, we've searched for Harry Potter. Let me scroll our results here. I'm going to pause here real quick. So I'm looking, I scrolled about one row down. So what I'm looking at is a good row to talk about the different features in Libby. So like, for instance, the unofficial Harry Potter cookbook. I can tell that this is a book to read because at the bottom of the book, there is not an icon that shows a pair of headphones. Whereas if I go to the far right of the screen, number 1 in the series, Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone on the right side of the screen, I can tell this is a book to listen to because at the bottom of the cover artwork, there's a pair of headphones and it says approximately 8 hours to listen to. Is everyone seeing that? Okay. Okay. So
Going up
We
here.
know for sure
Oh,
that
there we
this book here on the far left of the screen, 1 second, there's a chat question. Okay, great. Okay, so on the far left of the screen, unofficial Harry Potter cookbook. It also has the word borrow right here. That means that this particular title right now is available. So if I wanted to borrow that, I would click on borrow. Going just to the right of that, we have the official Harry Potter cookbook, but it says place hold. So what that means is even though it's a digital book and it's a book to read, I can tell it's a book to read because it does not have the headphones at the bottom of the cover artwork. But, so this is a book to read, no headphones at the bottom, but it's also borrowed because right here it says place hold. And just like physical print materials at the library for ebooks through Libby, we only order a certain number of copies of each book. Most likely with these books, we probably have like 1 copy of these cookbooks, 1 copy each. Whereas I'm guessing with that Harry Potter on the far right here, the audiobook with the headphones, we probably have multiple copies of this because it's pretty popular still among children. So, but again, you can notice this audiobook also is currently borrowed because it says place hold. So to recap, far left of the screen, the unofficial Harry Potter cookbook is available to borrow. In the middle of the screen, the official Harry Potter cookbook is not available, says place hold. And on the far right, Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone also not available, place hold. If you notice, let's cover this area here. If you can see where my cursor is now, it's got the blue and green library card icon. If I click on that, it tells me how many copies the Finger Lakes library system has available. We own 1 copy of this particular book, the unofficial Harry
Click
Potter
on it, yeah.
cookbook. If I click on the similar icon for the official cookbook, I can go ahead and click on this. We also have 1 copy. 1 copy is in use, but 0 patrons are waiting, and they have it for 2 more weeks. And then if I go to the audiobook for Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone and click that same icon, so we actually own, if you notice where I'm hovering my mouse, we do own 4 copies of this book, but we also have 8 patrons waiting their turn for it.
4 copies. 8
So
of
this tells me that this book is still very, very popular.
them.
If we wanted to put a hold on this book, we'd have to wait about 5 weeks before it's available. And again, I found out this information by clicking on the little blue and green icon that's next to the title of the book.
It looks like a library card, might be a
Right.
library card.
Right. Exactly. Okay. So basically what I've covered now are some visual cues that patrons can use to help identify what they're looking at. Again, on the far left, we have the unofficial cookbook, got a purple cover. I know it's available to borrow because it says borrow right here. I know it's a book to read with text because there's no headphones at the bottom. But on the far right of the screen, the Sorcerer's Stone, it's not currently available, it says place a hold. But I know it's a book to listen to because it has those headphones at the bottom with the amount of time it takes to listen to it. Okay, do we have any questions about those visual cues that help patrons understand what's available to them? Okay, so if we don't have any questions about that, what I'm going to do next is actually borrow some items. And the reason I'm going to borrow a couple of items is to show you the features that are built into each digital version of these books. There's actual things that you can adjust to help make your reading experience better. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and scroll a little bit. I want to see if I can find a book that isn't a cookbook. Okay. I'm just scrolling here. Give me 1 second. That one's in Spanish. I don't want that one.
Oh.
Let's see. Yeah, Harry Potter is clearly still very popular, so that's not a bad thing. Okay. Let's see.
Charmed knits.
So at this point, I've reached a part, as I scroll this page, we're not looking at Harry Potter anymore. They're giving us titles that might be similar to Harry Potter. So what I might do, I'm gonna pause here. And I'm gonna look at on the far right of the screen, it says The Water in the Wild by K.E. Ormsby. So I'm gonna practice with this book because it is available. How it says borrow right here on the right. And again, I know it's a book, this is a text-based book to read because there's no headphones at the bottom. So I'm gonna borrow this book and demonstrate some of the built-in features.
Mhm.
Now, one thing we can do, if we want to learn more about this particular book, The Water in the Wild, because we're just browsing, we don't know a lot about it. If you click on the artwork of the book, the jacket cover, it'll give us more information about that book. So it gives us a quick summary of the book. It's got some reviews at the bottom here.
Oh, there you go.
Gosh.
Okay. So this is the book summary page. What's good about the summary page is you can still borrow the book from the summary page itself. The button's right below it. See the cover artwork right here on the right side of the screen. The borrow button is right below it. And what I always tell people with Libby, you're gonna find that sometimes there's more than one way to do something. So I just back up one step.
You don't have a library card. Oh, that would be my library card.
If you know for sure you're gonna borrow a book right away, you can borrow it right from this screen here where it says borrow. Or you can click on the cover artwork and click on the borrow button just below the cover artwork on the next screen. So the borrow button is here on the right. Or click the cover artwork and the borrow button is here. There's no wrong way to borrow it, just personal preference, but there's two different options. So I just want to make that clear. Okay, so let's go ahead and borrow a book. So I'm borrowing The Water in the Wild, and it's telling me that I'm borrowing this book from the Finger Lakes Library System. And it's going on Tom's card. And I get it for 21 days. So I'm going to go ahead and click borrow. Okay, so after I click borrow, it gives me some options. I can go ahead and click on read with. I can click on keep browsing, or I can go to shelf. So I'm gonna click keep browsing real quick because I want to show you a different feature real quick. Keep browsing. So I clicked on keep browsing. It took us back to where we just left off. But I would like everybody to direct their eyes to the bottom of the screen. We talked about the magnifying glass. That's what we're using to search. We talked about the library building. That's our home page. I'm going to skip the middle menu here just a second. And I'm going to go to the left, I'm sorry, to the right of the middle menu. See the two stacks of books? This is our shelf. So I'm going to go ahead and click on shelf real quick. So now if you notice, the shelf is highlighted in blue and green. That's the active part of Libby that we're looking at right now. So I'm looking at our shelf, and this is where I can find the book I just borrowed, The Water in the Wild. And this is on our shelf. So I'm gonna go ahead and click read with.
We need a little help.
Okay.
So I'm so sorry. Where's the shelf?
It's that stack of books.
So there's a menu at the bottom of the screen, the two books on a stack.
Oh, excuse me. I'm sorry.
Yep.
Yes, thank you.
That's your shelf.
Thank you, Nina.
And then
Got it.
I talked briefly about the home page of that library building at the bottom. And then the magnifying glass is how you search for things at the bottom.
Right, sorry.
But now we're on shelf. That's okay. Okay, so we're on shelf. So what I'm gonna do next is I'm gonna go ahead and click read with. And then since I'm using Libby, I'm gonna go ahead and click Libby on this device.
I don't have the read with, I think I only have but you would have something that said read with.
You may
I'm
have
gonna open it.
chosen, Leslie,
Yeah,
This particular read with part might not show up. Like if you once you make your decision, it might not show up again.
right.
Right. So since you've been using Libby, you've already made your choice.
Right.
Yeah, so because I'm logging in fresh on the web browser, that's why I have this option. Okay, so I clicked read with, I'm gonna read with Libby. So now basically it just opens up the book. And from this point, if you're reading on a tablet or a smartphone, you're gonna basically turn your pages with your index finger and swipe left and right. If you're reading on a computer with a keyboard, you can use your arrows, the left and right arrows on the computer keyboard to turn pages that way. So I'm gonna actually do that on a computer keyboard. I'm gonna go ahead and tap the left and right arrows just to turn a couple pages to get into the book. Okay, so here's chapter 1 of this book.
You're gonna,
Okay, and all I was doing was just using the arrow keys. Now, real quick, if you can see my cursor in the middle of the screen, so right now I'm
Yeah.
actively in the book. To return to the Libby app for borrowing more books, what you're gonna wanna do is click somewhere in the middle of the screen or tap with your finger somewhere in the middle of the screen. I'm gonna go ahead and click real quick. And as I click, pay attention to the top and the bottom of the screen. The menu will reappear here. Do we all see that menu that just popped up?
mm-hmm.
I'm gonna go ahead and undo that real quick. I'm gonna click right in the middle again and the menu will disappear.
You just,
So to be
Okay.
able to read your book, you wanna click to hide the menu. When you're finished reading, to look for more books, you wanna click in the middle of the screen to bring the menu back. So now I'm gonna focus a little bit on the menu itself. Let me move this out of the way.
tap the screen, yeah.
Okay. So here we have our menu. If you take your eyes to the left screen, top left corner of the screen, it says back. If you want to search for more books, you want to click the back arrow. That'll help you search for more books. The bottom half of the menu, if you can see my cursor, right in the middle, it says the water and the wind, right in the middle of the screen there. It's telling me this is chapter 1, the finch and the apple tree. Just below all that, if you see these dashed lines, this is basically the book's timeline. Looks like it goes in 20-page increments.
You're at the table.
I will be honest, I don't use the timeline feature very often. What it's good for, if you want to like fast forward through the book, you can click somewhere in where the lines are and just click and hold your cursor and just drag it.
No.
It'll take you deeper into the book or closer to the front of the book.
You can drag this, but it's,
But honestly, not a feature I spend a lot of time with.
I think you just,
so you
I think
can go to
tap it
different
somewhere, it'll bring you
pages.
somewhere else, yeah.
Okay,
Mm-hmm.
okay.
So just above the timeline, I'm not sure why they shade this in like a light gray, but below dedication, it says table of contents. It's a little bit hard to read, but it's there. So if you click on table of contents, you can see how many chapters there are in the book. So the table of contents part, to me, is more
Just tap.
something I would use more than the timeline itself.
That makes sense.
Oh, I went out. Okay. Okay, so how do you, if you're using an iPhone, you swipe left and right, but if you're using a laptop, you do what?
There's arrow keys on your keyboard, left and right arrow keys.
Arrow keys.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Right here.
So here we are. Like I said, there's a way to look at the table of contents, and there's a way to scroll through the timeline. Next, I'm going to ask people to kind of look to the top right corner of the screen. So if you notice where it says the finch in the apple tree, and in the top right corner, you see this little outline of a ribbon.
You see.
this little outline of the ribbon, that's how you create a bookmark. I'm gonna go ahead and do that right now. So right now the ribbon is in outline, but if I click on it, it gets filled in. Now it's dark black. So if I click it
Okay, so you
again,
have to press this and then find that.
so the outline indicates that there is no bookmark here, but if I click it, turn it black, that's an active bookmark. So if you want, as you're reading along, you can click bookmarks to like help mark where you left off. And I always recommend personally, I do recommend when you know you're finished reading for the day, to give that bookmark ribbon a click. That way you'll know where you left off when you start reading again.
See that?
Okay.
So tab.
Now just above the bookmark is, it also looks like a bookmark, but it looks like more than one. This is basically your bookmark history. So if you have several bookmarks created, you can click on the bookmark history to show you all the different bookmarks that you've created. Now, if I click on it right now, it's going to show me that I only have one bookmark created. So I created a bookmark today on page 14, but that's the only bookmark that I created. Now, if I wanted to,
Brings you there.
if I go, I'm going to turn a few pages very quickly, real quick, just to show you the bookmark history. Okay, so I just created a second bookmark. So if I click on the
go to a
bookmark
different page.
history,
Hit the
now it's
page.
telling me that I created a bookmark on page 14, and I created a second bookmark on page 34. So that's your bookmark history.
This is 11. So you want to go here and
Any questions about bookmarks and bookmark history? Okay. If there are any questions about the bookmarks and the bookmark history, just to the left of the bookmark history, there's a magnifying glass. This magnifying glass is used for basically searching inside the book. Now, the best example I can give of using the magnifying glass from personal experience is when I borrowed, about 2 years ago, I borrowed a Stephen King book. And the book starts, the first couple of chapters focus on a certain character. But by chapter 3 or 4, they leave that character behind and they focus on a whole group of different characters. And the character from the first 2 chapters doesn't reappear till the end of the book. So by the time I got to the end of the book, they reintroduced this character. I'm like, wait a minute, who is this person? So I used the magnifying glass and I searched that person's name with it. And I realized, oh, that's the person in the beginning of the book. So, like for instance, just looking at the page in front of me here, it looks like there's a character named Penn. So I'm going to go ahead and click on the magnifying glass and enter the keyword Penn.
I don't know if we're in the same book or not, but
We're not. So I don't know what to,
let's
it's
say
something engineer, so.
there you go.
Oops. If I search the keyword Penn, it's showing me, and I'm not completely happy with the results because if you look, it's like in chapter 1, it found PEN as a part of open. But I'd rather like get more information about the character Penn itself. But like here's an example. If I scroll, looks like in chapter 5, they mentioned the person named Penn in chapter 5, Penn Bloomfield. So again, the magnifying glass is a feature you can use. Whether or not you actually use it, that's up to you. I don't find it to be as important as the next feature I'm going to highlight on. I'm going to spend more time on this feature. So to the left of the magnifying glass, there's that letter A. If you can all see the letter A. This letter A is important because it allows you to customize how you look at Libby, especially in text format. So if I click on the letter A, this is going to change the appearance of Libby itself. So it says appearance right here. Now text scale, I'm going to go ahead and just visually demonstrate what it means by text scale. So right now it's right in the middle. If we see that, If I drag the slider for text scale all the way to the left, it's going to make it smaller. However, if I drag the text scale slider all the way to the right, it makes it bigger.
Makes it bigger, which is very nice.
Yeah.
So this is, again, the reason I want to show you this is because you can customize, you can put it the way you want it, what your preference is. So definitely adjust the text scale to your personal preference. Also, there's something called lighting. So right now the default is bright. So if I click on bright, there's no change. Basically black lettering on a white background. I often like to use the middle option, sepia, because it creates more of a creamy color. That's similar to like paper that we get with our paper books. The third option on the right is the dark mode, which is black background with white lettering. So that's not my favorite, so I rarely use that. I'm going to put it at sepia and leave it there. It's under lighting. And then there's a category book design, publisher's default. I kind of don't do anything with that. But you can change the font or the lettering. See how it says legible, scholar, paperback, open dyslexic, or custom. I'm not sure exactly what the default is, but I'm going to click on paperback just to see what it looks like if I click on paperback. So there's a slight difference between paperback and let's go back to legible.
I like paperback. Look, it feels a little easier to read to me, but it's because it's bigger, I think.
Yeah. Well, the other thing I like to show people is there's under paperback, there's open dyslexic. That's the open dyslexic font, but below open dyslexic, it says custom.
Wow.
So this is where you can kind of change it again. Like there's more font choices. There's Palatino. There's Georgia. There's old style. One font style that I personally like is the last one on the list. It's sans serif.
Yeah, me too.
I like that. It's nice and clean to me. I also like, if I keep scrolling on this feature, I like to go to the 2.0 spacing.
Oh, there you go.
And then another feature I like is the heavy feature. It says heavy just below line spacing. It says weight. I like heavy. Makes it much bolder.
Okay.
Heavy makes it look
Well,
bold.
these are my preferences. You don't have to necessarily use these preferences yourself, but this is what I like to, when I read a book on a device, this is what I look at when I read it. I use the heavyweight, I use a 2.0 line spacing, I do the sans serif, and I do the sepia color scheme.
Yeah, there you go.
And again, the other thing so once you have all this set the way you want it, you can go back to the top and do the text scale again. Let's see what this looks like if I drag it all the way to the right. It's going to be kind of crazy there. It's pretty big. And then if I bring it all the way to the left, it's much smaller. And then to hide this menu, I'm going to click back in the middle of the screen to hide the menu. But remember, these features are all under the letter A. Those are your
appearance.
the way to adjust your settings. Now, if anyone's ever reading on like a smaller screen, like a iPhone or a smaller iPad or a tablet, the next feature is, so right now, like here's the letter A. I'm going to go from the left of the A to the columns. So right now, if we look, I have two columns, one on the left, one on the right. But if you're on a smaller screen, like a smartphone or a smaller tablet, you might want to consider switching from two columns to one column with this feature right here. Now I'm looking at it with just one column. And if you're doing the one column method, you would actually scroll this like you would on a website. Like if you've ever written sorry, if you've ever read an article on like Wikipedia or like a news website, you know that you would scroll top to bottom. So if you do decide to try the one column design, you would scroll top to bottom. You wouldn't use your left and right swiping anymore. You would just scroll up and down. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but we're on an iPhone and we don't even have that option. The column icon is
Oh,
not there.
so you probably didn't have two columns at all then?
No,
Like, you didn't have this screen? That might be,
no,
I'll be honest, I rarely use an iPhone to read with, so maybe that's just not a feature on the
it's
iPhone.
just a
because the
function
screen,
of the iPhone. Yeah,
right, the screen is
yeah.
already so small, they
And
don't
it
give you that
doesn't,
choice.
it
Okay,
only, you can, it doesn't scroll up and down. It goes, you have to go swipe,
okay, okay. Well, that kind of makes sense
which is,
because,
I think, fine.
yeah, because, yeah, you wouldn't want two columns on an iPhone. That'd be very small.
It would be,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, okay, but yeah, those are the basic features built into the Libby app that help you customize your reading experience. And always remember, if you want to read, so let me do this real quick. So if you have the menu on your screen like I do right now, and you want to be able to just read without that menu being there on your iPhone or on your computer, just give a click or a tap right in the middle of the screen. That'll hide the menu. Now we're in reading mode. But at some point, when you're done reading, you want to go back to the library and look for more books. To bring the menu back, same thing. You just click or tap in the middle of the screen to bring that menu back. And then to get out of the book completely, top left corner of the screen where it says back, you click the back arrow. And that'll take you out of the book. Okay. So now Libby remembers where we left off. So when I leave the book, it's showing me my shelf again. If we want to search for more books, we can either click on the library building at the bottom of the screen, click on the library building if you want to. That takes us to our home screen. Or we can click on the magnifying glass again. So when I click on the magnifying glass, oh, I clicked it twice. So let me go ahead and do that again. Okay, so we're back to Harry Potter.
You had to get out of the.
Let
one
me
you
go
were in.
find. So what I'm going to do next is, because I went over the basics of borrowing a book to read by text. Now I want to find a book to listen to and go over some of the same features. So I'm just scrolling at this point. Okay. I'm going to pause here. So there's a book by the Harry Potter author, right in the middle of the screen here, The Tales of Beetle the Bard. So I can tell it's available to borrow because it says borrow right here. I can tell it's an audiobook because it has the headphones at the bottom of the screen here. I'm sorry, at the bottom of the book. There's the little headphones icon. So let's give an audiobook a borrow and we'll practice with some of the features on the audiobook. Okay, so I'm gonna borrow from Finger Lakes to my card for 21 days. Borrow. Open audiobook. Okay, so it looks a little different because this is not a book that you would read with text. This is a book that we're gonna listen to. The menu at the bottom, we talked about that timeline, works basically the same with an audiobook. And you do have your table of contents again. But the main difference is in the middle of the screen, there's the very common play button icon. So to be able to listen, and I'll hear it through my computer speakers. You might not hear it on your end. So I'm gonna click play and let's see what happens. Can anyone hear anything?
No.
Okay,
but that's okay.
right.
You try it.
So I can definitely hear it on my end, but if you can't hear it on your end, not a problem. But these are your primary controls. You have the play button. Once it's playing, you can press pause to pause the book. Now, to the left and right of the play button, you can go backward 15 seconds at a time, or you can go forward 15 seconds at a time.
Hmm.
So if you ever want to like speed up a little bit, or get through a part of the book a little bit quicker, you can hit that fast forward
And here
15
you
seconds at a time button.
You know,
Again, just like with the ebooks to read, if you want to get back to the library, you click the little left-hand corner of the arrow to get back to the library.
Okay.
or back.
And then, just like with the ebooks, on the top right corner, you have your bookmark history. So I'm gonna click play real quick. And then I'm gonna pause it and I'm gonna hit the bookmark icon. So I just clicked the bookmark on the top right corner. So to the left, the bookmark is my history. So if I click on the history of the bookmark, it shows me that I placed the bookmark 25 seconds into the book. Do we all see that okay?
Mhm.
Okay, now pause it.
See what's in the chat. Okay,
Hit the
great.
bookmark.
Eva says yes. Thank you, Eva. Okay.
Hmm.
All right. Okay, so we know how to place a bookmark by clicking the ribbon. We know how to check our history by clicking the icon next to that. The crescent moon,
Anything.
this is a nice feature. The example I'll use is maybe you like to listen to a book right before bed, but you don't want to like have the book finish while you're falling asleep. So if you click on the little crescent moon icon, this is your sleep timer. So what you can do with a sleep timer is you can have it stop playing
Oh, that's nice.
at 15 minutes or at 30 minutes, or like this top option here is minutes. So basically your chapter will end in 8 minutes. So if you want to set your sleep timer to stop at the end of the chapter, you would choose this one, end of chapter. If you want the book to stop reading at 15 minutes or 30 minutes or 6, you take any of these
Oh.
options as well. So that way your book won't keep playing for the next 8 hours while you're sleeping. You can just use a sleep timer.
Wow, check
So I could
that
click
out.
15.
Mhm.
So I just set the sleep timer for 15 minutes. And then if you ever want to turn it off, there's the off button right here.
This little arrow, oops. So you can try that.
Okay.
Any questions about the sleep timer?
You can turn it off, and then you don't have any timer on. Or press one of the yeah. 15 minutes, and now you have a timer on. Cool. So when you start playing it again, it'll only play for 15 minutes.
Okay.
Now you can just, yeah, get rid of that.
Okay. So that gets rid of
That's
that.
excellent. What a great tool.
Cool. All right. I'm trying to set a thumbs up emoji in the oh, that's not what I wanted. That's an angry face. Because Eva chatted neat features. I was gonna reply with a thumbs up. Let me see if I can do that real quick.
Mhm.
That's not it either. All right. Thank you, Eva. It's just apparently I don't know how to send smiley faces in a Zoom, but that's okay.
What's
Yeah.
the app that isn't, oh, my battery is running low. Okay, what's the app? Is there an app for music? I know it's not Libby.
Through the library,
Yeah, can you,
Hoopla.
can you borrow music?
Right, that would be
right, there we
Hoopla. Yeah, the Hoopla app. Yep. Okay.
go. Right.
So one extra feature for the audiobooks I'm going to cover real quick is so to the right, I'm sorry, to the left of the crescent moon, there's the little speed dial here. This is your playback speed. So if I click on that, Most books default at
You.
playback speed at 1.00 normal speed. But there is a way, if you choose to, you can speed up the narrator if you want to. That way, like, it would take less time to actually listen to the book. But just remember, like, if you go from 1 to 2 times speed, the best way I can describe it is it's kind of like Alvin and the Chipmunks. So if you go from 1 normal speed to 2 times speed, the narrator's voice is basically sped up. So it sounds like he's reading very quickly. And even on the right, you have that little fine tune. If you're very, so the most you could speed it up, it looks like it's 3 times the narrator's normal speed. That again, that's just a personal preference. You don't have to use this feature if you don't want to.
No,
I feel like
you're
if
not
you
a
wanted to,
speed reader, you're a speed hearer.
yeah, speed listener, exactly. So,
Speed
but
listener.
yeah, if you wanted to get through a book a little bit quicker, I feel like you probably could get away with like 1.25 speed without having it change that much. You'll notice a difference.
Uh-huh.
But the weird thing is you also get used to it really quickly. So if you don't want to spend a full 2 hours on a book, you want to speed up just a little bit, you can adjust it. Because like when I drive to work, I'll listen to a podcast, and sometimes the podcast I listen to, they put out so many episodes, the only way to really catch up is by listening to it at a different speed. So but it's funny because my ears do get used to like the cadence of the people talking. So yeah.
Well, I find young people speak really fast these days, so maybe this would be a good way for me to get used to that.
Yeah, let
To
me
train my brain.
and Eva real quick, I'm gonna go back. So basically the speed dial is the one all the way to the far left of the features right here. This little speed dial. If you want to change the playback speed, this is what we're talking about right here. You give that a click and it gives you the
Sort of wondering how oh, okay. It's okay.
oh, and I figured out how to send a thumbs up. Woohoo!
Good.
Okay. So let me and remember to just like with the books to read by text, the books to listen to get rid of this menu, just click somewhere below it, it'll hide it. But the menu, at least with the book that you're listening to, the menu is always going to be here. So that makes it a little bit easier than reading like a text-based book. This menu will always be here. Although I feel like if I click on the book cover artwork, let's give this a click and see what happens. Right where it says Tales of Beetle the Bard, we'll give this a quick click. So this gives us a summary of the book itself. And to get rid of that, I'm gonna go ahead and click there.
Right.
So I feel like the audiobook listening experience might be a little bit more intuitive just because we're all familiar with the play button. This play button's been pretty standard with the triangle for many years now, so it might just make more sense to us with the play button.
It's not, we're not able to do that on the iPhone, it doesn't look like.
Which one? Do which one?
Get the summary.
Oh,
You said
interesting.
you just clicked on the
Yeah, I
picture.
clicked on the
Yeah.
cover artwork. Nothing happens for you when you do it.
We're trying to do that. It's not
Actually,
doing
the
anything.
problem is I haven't borrowed it, actually.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
So those are some of the basic features as far as listening to a book.
Yeah.
The one last thing I'll cover, and again, remember, I know we covered quite a bit in a short amount of time. the best way to get comfortable with this app is by using it. Sometimes I'll recommend to patrons to borrow a book just for the sole purpose of just practicing with it to learn the ins and outs of the Libby
Yeah.
app. Once you get that comfort level, then maybe you can decide then, oh, you know what? Maybe Libby, oh, you know what? I love it. I'm going to keep using it. Or I'd rather just stick with physical books instead. Whatever your choice is. But definitely practice with it. But also, I'll put them in the chat at the end as well. The help pages that we have.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I copied, I'll email those out to folks.
Okay, cool. Yeah.
Well,
That way,
thank you, Tom.
yeah. So the one last thing I like to go over before we finish is I'm gonna scroll. Just remember my guidance. If you want to get back to like the home screen, you can always click that little left arrow in the top left corner of the screen. Take you back to
Yeah.
the home page. Or at the bottom in the menu, there's the home library building right here as well. That's another way to get back to your home page. But one last thing I like to show people is because at this point, we borrowed a couple of books, but I don't actually it's not likely I'm actually going to read these books. So again, looking at the bottom menu on the bottom of the screen, I'm going to click on those books that are in a stack right quick. Give that a click. Borrowed 2 books today. If I want to, where it says manage loan, I can return books early. Because like I borrowed each of these books for 21 days, but I'm not going to read them. So I'm going to go ahead and click on where it says manage loan. I'm going to start with the audio book. I'm going to click on manage loan. And then I'm going to click on where it says return early. And it's just making sure. So I have one more click to do.
Good.
That way I don't return it by mistake.
Nice.
And then I'm going to go to shelf. I want to return both of those books early.
Oh, we don't have it.
Manage loan, return early. And then again, I'm going to click return loan.
Okay.
I knew I wasn't going to bother with those books after I practiced with them. I just borrowed them for the sake of showing everyone how Libby works during this workshop. But I wasn't actually going to borrow or read them or finish them.
Well, it's also feels kind of polite, so that if you're done early, then it becomes
that's-
available to somebody else a little earlier. Right? Is that correct?
Yeah, that's completely accurate. Yes.
That's a nice thing to do.
Right. If you finish a book early, you're done with it, and you still have a week with it. There's no problem at all returning that book early.
Mm-hmm.
That way, the next person in line will have a turn with it. Okay, so then
Eva
Eva
wants to know
asks,
about.
yeah, about being able to sign up for a library card through the Libby app. I personally have never done it, and I guess the reason I've never tried it is because I've always had a library card.
I did start it for Nina,
Yeah.
and it worked. It worked.
Okay. So I don't know what ends up happening on our end, like if you have to visit us in person to pick up a physical card. So maybe if Nina could let us know how that worked out for her
Or what?
going forward,
Started them.
Yeah, I know.
because I've always had a card, so I've never had to try out that little feature.
But I think you can go online at the library site. I think you can
Right. So that's a good point. So if you were
Get a
to
card,
sign up
right?
for, right, you can, but I'm gonna just, if a patron goes to tcpl.org to create an account, they're gonna get a temporary
Yeah.
card number. And that temporary card number that they're getting through that process won't work with Libby. Whereas
okay.
Yeah. Whereas I'm not quite sure the difference. Like if you sign up for a temporary card through Libby to start, I'm not sure how the rest of that works. I've never done it before.
So are you saying you really have to go to the library to get a card?
Well, if it were,
Is
if
that
signing
right?
up for a card through Libby worked for Nina, that's fine. If she's going to continue using Libby, I would just,
We only got partway through the process, and I
yeah,
don't know how you did it, Leslie.
Well, because I have to be here.
Oh.
yeah. And I have it too, so I'm not. So maybe I should
I'll
try to learn that part.
I'll go to the library. I don't mind going to the library.
There we go.
Okay. But I'm writing myself a little note to just learn more about that process because I don't really know a lot about it.
I don't have a lot of apps, as you can
So.
see. But there were some that were
So the
hiding
green balloon in
under-
the top left corner, that helps if
So you just swiped it into the
if you're a
page.
patron who
Okay.
likes to browse for titles, the little green balloon and those three horizontal lines, basically that's the filtering icon. So if I click on that, these are our filters. And then what I like to do, because people have preferred like genres, or they call them subjects here. So if I scroll just a little itty bitty bit, where in the blue lettering it says we have 103 subjects in total, explore all genres. I just like to click on this to show patrons that you can search by a specific subject or genre. And the one I always kind of default to is the historical fiction. So there's a whole like 3,000 titles that are considered historical fiction. And then mystery is another popular one. There's a 3,343 mysteries. If we pick up a few steps, top left corner with that arrow, go backwards. Clicking on that balloon will get you started defining those subjects. Click on the balloon, scroll just a little bit, click on explore all, and this will give you the different categories. And also remember the
I have a-
default. Go ahead.
How does one, okay, suppose I have a specific title already in mind.
Right.
How do I request that?
Yeah,
Research.
if you do have a specific
Under
title,
search?
Type it in.
at the bottom of the screen, they have that
Okay.
magnifying glass. So if you know a specific title, like, let's see.
Okay, I'll search for that. It has a,
So if you know a specific title or author in mind, you can always just click the magnifying glass at the top of the screen or the bottom of the screen and just enter that information right there in the search field. I just did a quick search for To Kill a Mockingbird. And so not a lot of results. We have To Kill a Mockingbird to listen to, but it's borrowed. We also have Go Set a Watchman to listen to. That one's available. It says borrow right there. So what we don't have for these particular titles is the books that you would read in text format. Just we only have in audio format. But if you know the exact title, just click on that little magnifying glass at the bottom of the screen.
Did you find it?
no results. I don't think you have the
Oh.
book that I'm
Mm.
looking for.
What book is it?
Oh, it's a book titled Music and Mind, and it's edited by Renee Fleming with the foreword by Francis Collins, and Music and Mind has a subtitle, which I don't remember right now, but anyway, it's a new book, so maybe that's why
okay.
you don't have it. But now I have Libby on my,
I put it on and I'll show you how to do it.
okay, good.
Well, yep.
Well, I'll look for some other title later.
Well, Tom, thank you so much.
Yes,
You're welcome.
thank you.
Any
You
other
guys-
questions?
Well, Eva asked a question in the chat, if borrowing a book through Libby affects items at the local library. So yeah, like borrowing an ebook from Libby wouldn't impact whether, like if we have the physical book, like, so let's use To Kill a Mockingbird as an example. If we were to borrow the audiobook of To Kill a Mockingbird through Libby, it wouldn't affect the items that are on our shelves at all. Is that what you mean, Eva? Okay, okay.
Yes.
So for example, if we had To Kill a Mockingbird on CD and someone borrowed To Kill a Mockingbird through Libby, that CD would still be available to people in person at the library itself. It's just another format that patrons have access to. So it's like like just in addition to. Yeah. So that's why we like to talk to patrons, like, let's say you're in the building, but you can't find the book in paper. We'll ask them, have you checked Libby yet? As an alternative. That way they can have the book that they're interested in.
Yes, audio.
Yeah.
Right, I'm gonna go ahead and stop sharing.
All right.
Okay, did
Thank
you want me to
you.
put those links back in the chat? Or do you
I
think you
have them.
okay. Okay.
We're all good. I'll make sure even and Nina and others get them. Thank
Okay.
you so much.
Sure.
Tom, as usual, this is excellent, excellent, excellent. And I think
Yeah.
I think people, yeah, it's
I feel like
we're gonna
what I would just recommend
post
is
the
I was gonna say,
go ahead.
I know how, like, Eva mentioned it, like, it can feel overwhelming to start, but if you really are interested in exploring this as an option, I would just say just stick with it. If you really just practice with it, it's not gonna hurt anything if you make a mistake. That's the key.
Maybe we'll even put some practice sessions together and have people, at the office say, come on, we're practicing with Libby Hoopla and what's the other one?
Canopy.
There's one called
Canopy.
Canopy today
Canopy.
for the
Yep.
next hour. Come on in for an hour
Yep.
and we'll just, I think
Where's
that would be fun.
Where's your meeting space?
We're at Hanshaw Road up near,
Okay.
what is this plaza called?
Close to Community Corners,
Community Corners, yeah.
Oh, okay.
across the street from.
Because one thing, because
next
there was
to
a time, because we have a digital lab on site in the library.
Yeah, we could
that
come down to the library, we could meet at the library.
right. We've done it. We did that a couple times pre-COVID where people visited us in person at the library. But I could also talk to my department head about going up to Hanshaw Road near, it says Eva put Warren Real Estate. We can figure out whatever is
Awesome.
convenient. I mean, it might be easier to move one person
Awesome.
from the library to Hanshaw Road than to have everyone visit the library in person.
Yeah, well, that's such a beautiful offer. I wasn't actually suggesting that. I thought I would just sit down and,
Yeah.
help people. But if that was possible, I would,
Right.
let's explore that. That's great,
Okay.
Tom. Thank you.
Because I do feel like it's easier to do these things in person. Because
I agree.
we visited, I mean, I walk over to Lifelong every few months. And then, because they're like, say, also
Wonderful.
McGraw House, I visited McGraw House in person. I've definitely
Wonderful.
gone, again, pre-pandemic, I've visited Kendall in person in the past. So, my department she's out sick today, but I can talk to her about it.
That'd be great. Let's do that, Tom. I love it. I
Okay,
love it.
yeah.
I'll send you an official request by email, and you could share that with your supervisor.
Yeah. 'Cause, I'm happy to do these programs, but I just feel like
Wonderful.
they're easier to do, like, because that way I can see what people are doing with their device in their hand.
Exactly.
It just makes it easier. Yeah.
It was helpful today to have help. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think, Nina, it wouldn't have happened if you were just sitting at home. Yeah.
So I guess what I didn't realize is
Well,
you had like
thanks so much.
a meeting space. I didn't realize that you all had a meeting space. But
Well, we can use this conference room. We have a small office, but I don't think more than 5 or 6 people would come anyways, that we could
Right.
Yeah.
fit them in, yeah, so,
Yeah, okay. Okay,
cool.
that's fun.
Thank you so much, Tom, as usual, it's great to
problem.
be with you.
Yeah, my
Thanks for
pleasure.
coming, Eva.
Right, so
Mhm,
he was
people can
like,
bring their
people,
own coffee,
exactly, if
yeah.
we were to meet all together in person, people could bring their own, because I always recommend, like, even people who visit the library for those one-on-one help sessions, I tell them whenever possible, bring your own personal devices with you, that way,
Absolutely.
Yeah. yeah, cool. All right,
All
because the other
right.
thing, because right now I'm part of the circulation department, so
Mm,
one other thing we talk about is if we were to visit in person, maybe it would be me plus one person who could help people sign up for cards in person.
That would be ideal,
Yeah, because we can do that too.
wonderful,
Bring a small
great
batch of cards with us.
ideas,
Yep. Cool.
yeah,
All right.
Thank you.
thanks so
You're welcome.
much.
No problem. Thank you,
Have a
everybody.
great afternoon, everybody, yeah,
Bye.
we'll be in touch, Tom, bye-bye.
Sounds good. Bye-bye.